Hi everyone, welcome to Magic Language Learning. My name is Hermione, not the witch, just a fellow Harry Potter fan here to enjoy the magic of English with you. Over the next few months, we are going to take a magical journey through Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone using intensive reading. I'll walk you through the story line by line while helping you master English naturally and efficiently. Every unfamiliar word or phrase will be color-coded into one of 5 categories. The blue words are everyday vocabulary, brown ones are less common, orange marks academic words, red highlights advanced vocabulary, and the black underlined ones are key expressions, phrases, or idioms. This system helps you manage your time more efficiently. Focus more on the words that match your goals. For each vocabulary word, I'll show you a picture and a simple English definition. But don't worry, you don't need to memorize the definition. The real goal is to connect the word with an image and the emotion it brings out. That's how we learned our first language, and it's the most natural and powerful way to learn any language. By the time we finish, you will not only understand Harry Potter better, you will become a completely different version of yourself in English. So are you ready? Let's get started. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Chapter 1, The Boy Who Lived. Lesson 1.1. Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number 4 Privet Drive were proud to say that they were perfectly normal, thank you very much. Now what is privet? Well, it is an evergreen bush that produces small, frequent white flowers, typically in late spring to early summer, often used as a hedge around garden edges. Here are a few pictures to help you get a clear idea of what privet looks like. Try to connect the word with the images in your mind. That's how we remember words naturally. Also, let's clear up a common confusion. Drive and driveway are not the same. As you can see on the left, a drive refers to a longer private road that often winds through larger properties. A driveway, as shown on the right, is typically a short private road that leads directly from a public street to a house or garage. They were the last people you'd expect to be involved in anything strange or mysterious because they just didn't hold with such nonsense. Involve comes from Latin. In means into, and volve means to roll. Together, it means to roll into something, as if getting pulled into a situation that's moving forward. The car brand Volvo also comes from this Latin word suggesting smooth motion or rolling wheels. So in this sentence, involved in means being drawn into something strange or mysterious. Hold means to maintain or keep something in a certain state, position, or situation. Imagine nonsense in a bag. So if you hold with it, you are accepting it, supporting it, or going along with it. Of course, in this case, they didn't hold with such nonsense. Mr. Dursley was the director of a firm called Grunnings, which made drills. In a typical corporate ladder, director is above senior manager and below VP vice president, so Mr. Dursley is fairly high up in his company. A drill is something you use to make holes. For example, you might drill a hole in the wall to hang a picture, but drill can also be used figuratively. When someone says, let's drill down into the details, they mean, let's explore this more deeply or thoroughly. He was a big, beefy man with hardly any neck, although he did have a very large mustache. If you say someone is beefy, it means they are big, broad, and thick-bodied. A moustache is the hair that grows only above the upper lip. Mrs. Dursley was thin and blonde and had nearly twice the usual amount of neck, which came in very useful. She spent so much of her time craning over garden fences, spying on the neighbors. Blonde hair is a pale yellow color. Crane has 3 related meanings, and it's an important word to remember if you're preparing for language exams. Number 1, a bird with a very long neck. Number 2, a machine with a long arm, probably named because it looks like the bird's neck. And third, as a verb, it means to stretch out your neck, like a person trying to see something better. Spy as a verb means to secretly watching people, usually without them knowing. As a noun, it refers to a person who secretly collects and reports information about the activities of another country or organization. In the movie Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the main characters, John Smith and Jane Smith, are both spies. You can link their faces with the word to help you remember it better. The Dursleys had a small son called Dudley, and in their opinion there was no finer boy anywhere. No finer boy, so no better boy, no nicer boy anywhere. The Dursleys had everything they wanted, but they also had a secret, and their greatest fear was that somebody would discover it. They didn't think they could bear it if anyone found out about the Potters. The word bear doesn't mean the animal, it's used as a verb, meaning to stand, tolerate, or endure. The Dursleys found the idea too upsetting, too painful. They couldn't handle it emotionally if people discovered the truth about the Potters. There's a famous line from the movie Inception. I miss you more than I can bear. In that sentence, bear has the same meaning. I miss you so much that I can't stand it. Mrs. Potter was Mrs. Dursley's sister, but they hadn't met for several years. In fact, Mrs. Dursley pretended she didn't have a sister because her sister and her good-for-nothing husband were as undurslyish as it was possible to be. Good for nothing is a well-known fixed expression commonly used in storytelling or casual speech to strongly criticize someone who is perceived as useless, lazy, or worthless. Now, pause the video and think of a good-for-nothing person you know, maybe from real life, a movie, or a book, and try to link that person with the phrase. Did you think of someone? Great! Now let's move on to a common and useful suffix, ish, which means somewhat alike or having the qualities of. When added to a noun, it forms an adjective that describes someone or something as resembling or behaving like that noun, often loosely or informally. For example, with colors, there are many specific names: bottle green, teal green, emerald green, turquoise green, and so on. But if you don't know the exact shade, you can simply say it's a greenish color. In the same way, if you say Dursleyish, it means like the Dursleys, having the same qualities. If you say undurslyish, it means not like the Dursleys at all, the opposite of how they behave. The Dursleys shuddered to think what the neighbors would say if the Potters arrived in the street. When you shudder, you shake suddenly and briefly, usually because of fear or cold. The Dursleys knew that the Potters had a small son too, but they had never even seen him. This boy was another good reason for keeping the Potters away. They didn't want Dudley mixing with a child like that. Keeping the Potters away shows that the Dursleys want to avoid contact, stay away from the Potters. Mix involved the idea of combining things that were separate. When you mix ingredients, you are putting different things together to create something new. When people mix socially, they're also coming together, sharing ideas, emotions, or conversations like ingredients in a recipe. When Mr. and Mrs. Dursley woke up on the dull grey Tuesday, our story starts. There was nothing about the cloudy sky outside to suggest that strange and mysterious things would soon be happening all over the country. When you say the weather is dull, it means the sky lacks brightness or energy. It usually feels gloomy and boring with no sunshine. It's probably what a typical day looks like in the UK. Mr. Dursley hummed as he picked out his most boring tie for work, and Mrs. Dursley gossiped away happily as she wrestled the screaming Dudley into his high chair. To hum is when you sing a tune with your mouth closed. To gossip refers to chatting about other people's private lives. The word away here shows that she was gossiping non-stop. You might know the famous American TV show Gossip Girl, which is all about wealthy teenagers spreading rumors and gossip in school. Wrestling is a physical sport where two people try to throw or hold each other down to win. That's why the word wrestle gives us the image of a real struggle. It can be physical, like Mrs. Darcy trying to get a screaming Dudley into his high chair, or internal, like she wrestled with the decision for days. A high chair is a small chair with long legs for a baby. None of them noticed a large tawny owl flutter past the window. Tawny is a light brown to brownish orange color. You will often hear it used to describe animals or even people's eyes. Flutter is to move quickly and lightly up and down or side to side, like wings gently flapping. Maybe you've heard of the butterfly effect. A butterfly can flutter its wings over a flower in China and cause a hurricane in the Caribbean, which is the idea that small, seemingly trivial events may ultimately result in something with much larger consequences. Okay, so let's wrap things up with a quick review. Here's a picture of Mr. Dursley. Let's take a moment to brainstorm all the words that came to mind when you look at him. Okay, so you have 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so we can say a big, beefy man with hardly any neck, a very large mustache. He is the director of a firm that makes thrills. If you have other good expressions to describe Mr. Darcy, feel free to leave them in the comment section. Using these kinds of descriptive words in your speaking or writing exam can be the difference between intermediate and advanced level. Now, let's review the vocabulary we learned today. I'll read each word twice. The first time, look at the word and picture on the screen. The second time, close your eyes and try to form a clear image in your mind. Repeat after me each time. This helps you connect the word not just to its meaning, but to a visual and emotional memory. Let's begin with the first word, privet. Privet, privet. Drive, drive. Driveway, driveway. Involve, involve. Hold with, hold with. Director, director. Drill, drill. Beefy, beefy. Mustache, mustache. Blonde, blonde, crane, crane, spy, spy, bear, bear, good for nothing, good for nothing, greenish color, greenish color, shudder, shudder, keep away, keep away, mix, mix, dull, dull, hum, hum, gossip, gossip, wrestle, wrestle, high chair, high chair, tawny hour, tawny hour, flutter, flutter. Great work reviewing all those words. Now let's bring it all together. In a moment, I'll read the passage we explored earlier, but this time I want you to close your eyes and let the words paint pictures in your mind. Let yourself see the scene as you would in your native language when someone tells you a story. Take a deep breath and let's begin. Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number 4 Privet Drive were proud to say that they were perfectly normal, thank you very much. They were the last people you'd expect to be involved in anything strange or mysterious, because they just didn't hold with such nonsense. Mr. Dursley was the director of a firm called Grunnings, which made drills. He was a big, beefy man with hardly any neck, although he did a very large moustache. Mrs. Dursley was thin and blonde, and had nearly twice the usual amount of neck, which came in very useful as she spent so much of her time craning over garden fences, spying on the neighbours. The Dursleys had a small son called Dudley, and in their opinion there was no finer boy anywhere. The Dursleys had everything they wanted, but they also had a secret, and their greatest fear was that somebody would discover it. They didn't think they could bear it if anyone found out about the Porters. Mrs. Porter was Mrs. Dursley's sister, but they hadn't met for several years. In fact, Mrs. Dursley pretended she didn't have a sister, because her sister and her good-for-nothing husband were as un-Dursleyish as it was possible to be. The Dursleys shuddered to think what the neighbours would say if the Porters arrived in the street. The Dursleys knew that the Porters had a small son too, but they had never even seen him. This boy was another good reason for keeping the Porters away. They didn't want Dudley mixing with a child like that. When Mr. and Mrs. Dursley woke up on a dull grey Tuesday, our story starts. There was nothing about the cloudy sky outside to suggest that strange and mysterious things would soon be happening all over the country. Mr. Dursley hummed as he picked out his most boring tie for work, and Mrs. Dursley gossiped away happily as she wrestled the screaming Dudley into his high chair. None of them noticed a large tawny owl flutter past the window. Well, congratulations, you made it. Thank you for reading with Hermione. And remember, a picture is worth 1,000 words. I'll see you in the next one.